to the aquarium. Sea creatures stare at us and we stare back at them. My baby freaked when she peeked at that eight-legged blob with a beak. She was too scared to speak. I said, don't be upset, it's only an octopus. Don't bother it and I'm sure it won't bother us. Please don't be upset, my darling, please don't get upset. My baby came riding to meet me one time on the crowded last car of the downtown bound 9. She was brave, but she caved when the train was delayed. It was just the last straw in her hard, busy day. I said, don't be upset, 'cause it's not a catastrophe. Nothing will happen, and soon you'll be back with me. Please don't be upset, my darling, please don't get upset. My gal's got a headache, her ankle is hurting too. The boots she bought gave her a rash, and her wisdom tooth is coming in. And it's damp out, and she's having cramps, and she's so mad at me 'cause I didn't shave. I said, don't be upset. I know you're feeling sensitive. I'll try to be kinder and be more attentive. Please don't be upset, my darling. Please don't get upset. Darling, I said, I'm gonna be 40 soon. I've only got rejection letters and a sense of impending doom. I think it's too late for me. All the comic book companies hate me, and I try, but it's always the same. And I guess my art is just lame. And it's strange, but still somehow I'm always not suiting their needs at this time. And she said, don't be upset, you know that you're wonderful. Just keep on trying, and eventually I'm sure that you won't. No, that would have been nice if she said that, but really what she said was kind of more like this. All you ever want to talk about is yourself and your comic books and your album and your tour. Every time I see your stupid friends, they just ask me where you are again. And it hurts, it makes me feel like dirt. I'm just gonna write where you are on my shirt. And I said, don't be upset, don't be in a bad mood. Let's just go to a show and hang out and feel good. Come on, please don't be upset, my darling. Please don't get upset. I'll do anything, baby, just don't be upset. Alright, we'll try one more illustrated thing here. This is another documentary film. And this is part of my long documentary film series on the complete history of communism. This is Communism, Chapter 6, the story of Vietnam. East of Thailand, south of China, is a country called Vietnam. They fought for centuries to free themselves from the Chinese. They wanted independence for so long. They were free 900 years, then there came a time of tears when Vietnam was conquered by the French. Made to slave in French plantations under Western exploitation that they've not forgotten ever since. A student there called Ho left his Vietnam to go become a cook for European sailors. He lived in Harlem, London, and France, and he got a first-hand chance to see the Western world's successes and failures. After World War I's collapse, when the world redrew its backs at the treaty meeting in Versailles, Ho intended pleading they'd give Vietnam its freedom, but they wouldn't even let him try. Ho knew the USA had been a colony one day, and he admired the way we had fought before it. But he saw now only communism stood up for our colony's freedoms, while the capitalist world just ignored them. So Ho began communist studies and recruited other buddies. He wrote articles that reached back home. He kept organizing on the move until the chances might improve to get the French to leave for Vietnam alone. And then in World War II's events, when the Nazis beat the French, France's colonies were taken by Japan. So Ho returned to Vietnam after decades being gone. It was time to fight for real, not just to plan. Now, organizing from within, with his new name, Ho Chi Minh, independence forces started growing faster. And then when World War II wrapped up and the Japanese were crushed, Vietnam at last had no more foreign master. So Ho Chi Minh declared a new free country then and there, quoting America's words of independence. But they had hardly settled down before the French came back around, and they wanted their old colony back with a vengeance. So began an 8-year war the world had never seen before, a tiny colony against a Western nation. And the USA, for shame, loved independence just in name. We funded France to fight this liberation. Why? Because in 1949, the communists had won in China, so the US wanted Europe in control there. So Vietnam now had the challenge of being right between the balance of big forces all trying to have a hold there. Then, unbelievable but true, in 1954 at Dien Bien Phu, France was beaten. Vietnam was free in triumph. The guy in charge on France's side even committed suicide when he realized little David really beat Goliath. But the powers in the West would only compromise at best. We said, okay, Vietnam can have its own elections, but you have to wait 2 years. And right now, to calm our fears, we'll cut the country in 2 temporary sections. The communists can have Hanoi, but the US will employ this corrupt guy named Diem to run Saigon. But if the voting had gone forth, it would have won things for the North. So Diem never let the vote go on. So began the Southern struggle. Communist Viet Cong rebels trying to defeat their Southern leader. And the North helped them a lot. But when Diem did get shot, it was by his own army, because they didn't like him either. The U.S. was desperate for a reason now to send our big armies in, so we claimed we'd been attacked in Tonkin Gulf. And the guy in charge of these naval wars was the dad of Jim Morrison of the Doors. That's true, and that's how the U.S. got more engulfed. But if they're communists, who cares? Why are we even there? These crazy questions nabbed at the U.S. While meanwhile, the communists repeated the same way France had been defeated, a total commitment to fighting off the West. So when Ho Chi Minh was dying in 1969, he knew U.S. involvement soon would break. And the U.S. did agree to withdraw troops in 73 with only death and devastation in its wake. Had Ho fought to free his land or force a Soviet agenda, either way the South was beat, the land united. And communistic land reform kept upheavals going on with landlords killed and properties redivided. But by 1986, the policies began to switch to incorporate more Western economics. So now, like China, it's a mix of East and Western politics, with the violent weight of history upon it. And that brings us up to Complete History of Communism, Part 7, the story of Cuba, but not tonight. To wrap up here, is there a request that would be a good closing sort of thing? Thanks everybody for hanging out. We have some, I've got some of my comic books over there, and we have some shirts, some CDs, some records, some Grasping Straws stickers. Do we have any patches left? Maybe 1 or 2 patches. Andy Burns has a couple of t-shirts left there as well. And,
shout out to Andy Burns.
Yes.
I'm a very creative pulled the sweat at one day.
Oh, okay. Well, of course, the one request is the the wordiest, longest song in the repertoire. So people feel as though they haven't had their money's worth of words, but this will teach you to make requests like that. Well, for this one, we'll have to travel back to the early mid-2000s, the hipster neighborhood of Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The days when Will Oldham, a.k.a. Bonnie Prince Billy, ruled over all indie rock and alternative folk. And the L Train was the vital conduit bringing hipster Williamsburg, Brooklyn into connection with Manhattan. And a songwriter named Jeffrey Lewis was approaching his late 20s and stressing out a lot. Today I went to Major Mass to remaster my old album, and on the L Train in the morning I was kind of sure I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom, and he come to walk among the Williamsburgers of his kingdom. And like the burgers of Calais, will a sacrifice be demanded to offer up our dreams and beg for mercy empty-handed? And hapless in our hoodness, crowded farm to an apartment, will relegate our dreams to hobbies and deny our disappointment. Is the Stones in 65 want total satisfaction, kid? But the Stones in 69 see grace in just getting what you need. But if that's a victory, then I'd hate to see the night look like defeated, because I know there are those who walk among us who seem to get their dreams unimpeded. Like today when I went to Major Mass to remaster my old album. On the L Train in the morning, I was pretty sure I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same rock star sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom, and he come to walk among the Williamsburgers of his kingdom. He might say, now there's a guy who seems to have the world laid out before him. Or he might say it's just a rich kid or a fascist or a charlatan, but either way you say it, if you look at indie rock culture, you really can't ignore him. And even if at first dismissive, after some listens you'll enjoy him. I was thinking this on the L Train, intent on bursting my own bubble. How long should an artist struggle before it isn't worth the hassle? And admit we aren't fit to be the ones inside the castle. This quest for greatness, or at least hipness, just a scam and too much trouble. But then what makes one human being worthy of an easy ride? Born to be a natural artist, we love or hate but can't deny. While us minions and our millions tumble into history's chasm, we might have a couple laughs, but we're still wastes of protoplasm. Like today, I was gonna waste some time and money to remaster this double album, and on the L Train in the morning, I was positive I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same big rock star sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom. Had he come to see the strife here in the gutters of his kingdom, where us noble starving artists are striving hard to feed our egos. Our mothers like our music and our friends come see our shows, and if our friends become successful, we'll consider them our foes. Go home to our four roommates after paying big bucks for rock star shows. What a nightmare, what a horror. I don't want no part of this. Just get me off this crazy ride. I'm gonna puke, I'm gonna piss. I'd rather kill myself, I'd rather just relax or not exist. But you say you want to do an email interview, well what the heck, I can't resist. Hey mom, guess what, today I did another magazine interview. I mean, that's great, you're really famous. Yeah, I'm gonna be 32. I kind of thought I was gonna grow up to do stuff that would benefit humanity. But it's getting harder to tell if this artist's life was even benefiting me. Because today, I was gonna spend some time and money to remaster this stupid old album, and on the L Train in the morning, I was pretty sure I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same rock star sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom, and since I was feeling in need of answers, I just went right up and asked him. I said, Will, Bonnie, Prince Palace, whatever, what do you think about it? Is it worth being an artist or an indie rock star? Or are you better off without it? Because, you know, maybe the world would be better if we were all just uncreative drones. No dead childhood dreams to haunt us, a decent job, a decent home. And we had some extra time, we could do real things to promote peace, become scientists or history teachers or uncorrupt police at least. Come on, Will, you gotta tell me. I grabbed and shook him by the arm. The L Train was leaving Bedford with 10,000 white 20-somethings crowded on. He opened his mouth to speak, but was lost in the rumbling of the wheels. We were thrown together in a corner, and I yelled, tell me, man, for real. You're living comfortably, I assume, even if you're not quite a household name. You've reached a pretty high level of success and critical acclaim. The L Train got to First Avenue, and a bunch of people piled out. I was staring into his sunglasses, and I was really freaking out. I was like, Steve-O, Willie, Bonnie, Prince of all this shit, you're like the king of a certain genre, but even you must want to quit. Like if you hear a record by Bob Dylan or Neil Young or whatever, you'll start thinking, people like me, but I won't be that good ever. And then I'm sure the thing is, probably even Dylan himself too stays up some nights wishing he was as good as Allen Ginsberg or Camus, and he's like, dude, I'm such a figure, I'm just a clown with winter teens. Fools who gave my crap half pathetic, puny brains. And Camus probably wished he was Milton too, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, Will, will you be straight with me? Now it was just us two on this train because I was going to spend some time in Wonder did. And your master, the stupid old owl, on the L train in the morning, I was positive I saw Will Oldham. I saw you here on the L train and I was like, hey, is that Will Oldham? You must at least have some perspective. Because it's like living in this town, I get so confused and wound up and uptight and I just don't know up from down. And then we reached the last stop. And the subway was deserted. There was a long moment of silence, and I let go of his shirt. I started to think maybe I'd made some kind of big mistake. I tried to walk out onto the platform, but by then it was too late. His sunglasses seemed to grow darker, and still he hadn't even spoke. He just came right up behind me and put his hands around my throat and threw me down onto the concrete and kicked my face in with his boot and dragged me down onto the train tracks and tied my hands back with his coat. And I was slipping out of consciousness as he was slipping down my jeans, and he was punching me and humping me, and I slipped off into a dream. So it might have just been a delusion, but I thought I heard him say something like, artists are pussies. Then he climbed back up and ran away. So I lay there in the darkness on the train tracks, cold and broken. The hours passed, and I thought, well, maybe I won't remaster that old album. And I started thinking maybe it really wasn't even Will Oldham, even though he did hold my arms and fought me just like Will sings in a soccer evening. But whether it was him or wasn't, I couldn't forget the words he'd spoken. Artists are pussies like we're wusses, or we end up getting fucked. And other kinds of folks are dicks, tall, smart, and strong, and born to fuck us up. I know it sounds really terrible, awkward, sexist analogy, but at that moment they were on the train tracks. It made a lot of sense to me. It was just some kind of natural balance, like two types of mental gender that's gone on in all societies in one form or another. Like some dicks are born to conquer, I probably would if I could. But if I'm just a pussy, that's okay. So in a few months, maybe I'll put out something good.
I thought